The sincere truth is that so many people are actually getting their COS and visa revoked, and it's important for us to create this awareness so that people who are in this situation can know what next they are expected to do. Now, just this week alone, I had 7 people who contacted me to share with me that their visas has been revoked. They got a letter from the Home Office that their visa has been revoked, and they've got 60 days to leave the country or get another sponsor to sponsor their visa to remain in the United Kingdom. And it's really sad because honestly that's really the reality. There are hundreds of people losing their visa on a monthly basis in the UK. And also on the flip side of it, there are actually loads of people still waiting for their COS to be processed, and it's taking almost forever for them to get that certificate of sponsorship. So this awareness basically is to inform you guys about what is really happening. If you're going to use an employer or you're planning to get COS from an employer, things you need to look out for. And in a situation whereby you've already lost your visa and you're stuck on what to do, I'm going to share with you all the different provisions available on gov.uk in relation to such situation in this video. And if you're coming across this channel for the first time, do well to hit the subscribe button to join the amazing growing family. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now let's see what we have on gov.uk. Now gov.uk says that if your visa sponsor loses their license, you will have to leave the job and leave the UK if your employer loses their sponsor license, unless you make a new visa to stay in the UK. You can also be affected if their license is suspended, they are taken over, or they don't renew their license. What happens to you depends on whether you're already in the UK when your employer's sponsor license changes. So whether you're in the UK or you're outside the UK, when this particular situation happens, it doesn't, your sponsor doesn't have to lose their license to, you've been affected. If they actually get their license suspended, you also get affected, of course, depending on what situation you are as at that time. Now, based on gov.uk, it says that if you're already in the UK, when your sponsor loses their license, your certificate of sponsorship is cancelled, visa is limited to 60 days or however long you have left on the visa if it's less than 60 days. So unlike the popular opinion that when your visa gets suspended, you have 60 days to leave the UK. Now, in as much as that is true, if the number of days you have left on your visa is less than 60 days, you're actually required to leave the UK as soon as the current visa expires. So yeah, that's really the reality. So you have to leave your job and leave the UK unless you make a new application within the time. If you're involved in the reasons why your sponsor lost their license, your visa will be withdrawn and you would have to leave the UK immediately. So that's a different ballgame. If you are the reason why your sponsor loses a license, then you have to leave the United Kingdom immediately. But if you are not the reason, probably because of the negligence or the act of your sponsor, that was why they lost their license, then you would be given 60 days, because of course it's not your fault. You'll be given 60 days to leave the United Kingdom. Now, if your sponsor's license is suspended, based on your circumstances, let's say you travel to the UK but haven't started work, you can start work. And that's if it's suspended, you can start work. And if you're already working, you can keep working while your last sponsor's license is suspended. That's why it's very important. I really don't know why so many of these sponsors don't get to communicate these things, probably to reduce panic. However, I think it's the right of the employees to be aware. Now, I've got someone whose employer's license was suspended about 6 months ago, and because of the fact that if your sponsor's license is suspended, you don't have to stop working. Your visa is not going to be revoked. You can actually continue working. They didn't tell them, they didn't communicate that fact to them. So if he was actually aware of the situation 6 months ago, he probably would have started looking for another job, looking for another sponsor. But the employer didn't inform them until after the decision was made on the suspension of their license, that they have to take away their license because of not being able to meet up with the CQC standard, and they were now left with just 60 days to get another sponsor, to find their way to stay back in the UK. Anyway, if your sponsor's license is suspended, and the way they got to know, he actually got to know a couple of days before they got that letter from the Home Office, and one of their colleague was trying to renew his visa, and he pushed out his application to the Home Office, and it was notified by the Home Office that his application won't be processed because the sponsor currently, is under investigation and their license has been sponsored. That was how they all got to know, and they started running Skater, but it was too late because they got the letter from the Home Office a couple of days after they got that information that their sponsor's license has been on suspension and it's now being revoked. So if you apply for a new visa while your sponsor's license is still under suspension, then it will be processed until the suspension ends. Now, if you're already in the UK, you need to check the status of your sponsor's license on the register of sponsors. It's very important. So if your sponsor's license is flagged, then you should know there's a problem. So there's a link on that on gov.uk where you can check out the register of sponsors to know the situation of your sponsor in the United Kingdom in relation to their license to sponsor. Now, you need to check the status of your sponsor's license on the register of sponsors before you travel. Your sponsor won't be listed if they have lost their license or it's suspended. So if you're currently on the if you're currently on a skilled worker visa in the UK and you're not sure about the situation of your sponsor, go on the register of sponsor, put in your sponsor's name. If the name of your sponsor is not on the register, it's either their visa has been revoked or they are currently on suspension. Now, if your sponsor loses their license and you apply for a visa, it will be refused. If you have a visa but haven't traveled to the UK, your visa will be cancelled and you won't be allowed to enter if you travel to the UK. That's if you're outside the UK. Now, if your visa's sponsor's license is suspended and you apply for a visa, your application will be put on hold until the end of the suspension. Have a visa but haven't traveled to the UK, you will be contacted by UKVI on what next is the line of action if you haven't traveled at all. Now, if your sponsor's business has been taken over or they don't renew their license, your visa will be limited to 60 days or however long you have left on the visa if it's less than 60 days. Now, if your employer doesn't renew their license or following a takeover of your old employer's business, your new employer doesn't apply for a license within 18 days, you will have to leave the job and leave the UK unless you make a new visa application within that time. So it's really sad. So if your employer loses their business, another employer took over and they chose not to apply for that license within 28 days, then you have to leave that job and you're obviously going to lose your sponsorship. Now, another question I get asked is, can you actually switch to another route if your employer loses their license? Yes, you can. If you're able to secure the global talent route or the scale up visa or the innovator founder visa, those are the other visa categories that you are qualified to apply for if you're looking at switching from your skilled worker visa or health and care visa. Of course, you need to get you need to meet up with the eligibility criteria. Now, another question I get asked is, can I stay on the skilled worker visa route? Now, you may be able to apply on the skilled worker visa route by finding a new employer that will sponsor you. So I think the major challenge basically is just being able to get another sponsorship, another employer who is willing to take a chance on you and give you that sponsorship. Now, one other question is, what is the impact of termination of my supplementary work? Now, under the skilled worker visa route, you may be permitted to engage in supplementary or secondary employment in addition to your sponsored role. Now, when your employment comes to an end, you are no longer permitted to carry out this additional work. So yeah, that's really the situation about things. So many people are really running helter skelter now, and if you have any opportunity in your organization and your organization is currently sponsoring, please state that information in the comment section. I've got lots of people who have lost their their visa. They have 60 days, some of them have less than 60 days already counting to leave the UK if they don't get another sponsor. So if you're currently in the UK and you have a sponsor who has license and they've got vacancies, please share that particular information in the comment section. Trust me, guys, you actually might be helping someone and saving someone's ass here in the United Kingdom. So I hope you find this video resourceful and informative. If you do, please click on the like button, and if you're coming across my channel for the first time, do well to hit the subscribe button to join the amazing growing family. And to my returning subscribers, thank you guys for being here. I really do appreciate you guys. So this will be the end of this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you.